Could Tyjae Spears be a potential league winner as soon as next year? All that and more in this episode of Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Mosher and Kate Magdziuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Kate Magdziuk. Check her out on Twitter at Kate Magdziuk. Kate, we're continuing our rookie profile series, and today we are talking about Tyjae Spears from Tulane. What did you think of the player?
Very interesting prospect. Redshirt junior out of Tulane, 5'10", 201. And man, did he have a productive 2022 season.
Heck yeah.
Over 1,800 scrimmage yards, 21 touchdowns, averaged 6.8 yards per attempt over his entire career there at Tulane. A lot of things to like about this guy. He's had absolutely rave reviews coming out of the Senior Bowl. Everybody loves this guy. He was one of the biggest risers in that entire process. Finished the season with an absolute bomb of an exclamation point, 205 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns in the Cotton Bowl against USC.
Yeah.
Like absolutely dominated that offense and just really, I think, was the kind of identity of that team here in his final season at Tulane. Now, he's a little undersized. How much does that impact what, in what way his game will translate to the NFL? Because he's not one of these bowling ball backs. He's not a Bijan.
No.
He's not, a big guy, right? Like, in a lot of ways, though, you wouldn't guess by the way that, he plays the game that he's 200 pounds.
It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all. I think he is a really, really good player, Kate, and I'm kind of all in. Like, this is I'm not sure where Tyjae Spears is going to get drafted. It looks like most people have him in the 3rd or 4th round, but this is the guy that I want to gamble on. I think he's got a potential to go to the right team, instantly take over a backfield, and just become somebody who is really effective as a rookie.
He's a tough runner. He's got plenty of burst, plenty of quickness. Again, like the big thing that came to me was, this undersized value. But what I think he excels at is, that explosiveness in an open field. If he gets to the 2nd level, man, he's just absolutely dynamic and fun to watch.
Did you have a comp for him?
Michael Carter.
Okay.
Was the guy that the comp really stems from the fact that I think both of these guys, even though they're undersized, didn't really seem all that undersized in their playing style. And it felt like they played a bit bigger than, the measurables would have led you to believe. Both of these guys are tough runners. Both of these guys were super productive in college. But their packaging as a player kind of sold me. And like Michael Carter, he's been an excellent asset to the New York Jets. Unfortunately, Breece Hall came in and destroyed that. But I mean, Michael Carter's a really good football player.
Yeah, okay. I could see the Michael Carter comp. I think he's a little bit more compact, and I think he has a little bit more power than Michael Carter. But I just have a feeling this is going to be a guy that's really productive in the NFL. And I know he's a little bit smaller than this guy, but why couldn't he be Khalil Herbert in the NFL, right? Somebody who gets drafted on day 3, sits behind an established starter, but anytime that starter's not available, he's putting up RB1 type of numbers. I think that's what Tyjae Spears is going to be in the NFL. But I think the difference for me is I could see him being part of a committee to start right? Because he's just so explosive, but eventually working his way into a bigger role.
Yeah, and I think there's actually maybe a little bit more potential for Tyjae Spears to be involved more heavily as a receiver than Khalil Herbert. Just the abilities, I think, after the catch. And again, once he has the ball in his hands in the open field, I just love what he does.
He
Out of
runs
all,
so hard too. That's what I love. I mean, you
he
watch that
runs with
USC game.
soul.
Yeah, there you go.
Soul.
I like that. You watch the
Yes.
USC game, and it's unbelievable some of the runs and some of the plays that he makes. Like there's a play at the goal line where he's ducking underneath guys, ripping off tackles. Like he plays so much bigger than his size.
Yes, like, and again, watching that tape, you would never guess that he's 200 pounds because he doesn't necessarily shy away from that contact. Like he's, he played through plenty of contact, especially in that USC game. I can literally picture the play that you just mentioned, ducking under these plays, and like ends up getting tackled by like 4 dudes at the goal line and shakes it off like he's nothing. Now, with that comes the injury history, right? He does have a history of a torn ACL. He's been relatively healthier over the last couple of seasons. Does the knee history scare you off at all?
Not really. To me, it's not a big deal. Most of these guys aren't getting big second contracts anyways. So you're kind of, I know it sounds terrible, but you're kind of using them up on the rookie deals and then moving on. So I think it's just something to note. It's not scaring me off from drafting him. That's all.
I mean, he bounced back,
yes,
completely, fully bounced back, had his most productive season after the torn ACL. So doesn't really scare me either, but, saw some scouting reports that noted that as a consideration. I'm, like you mentioned, I'm not so terrified that that's going to be an issue, but just
something to
really note. It's something to make note of, and maybe that's a tiebreaker if you're slotting him next to a running back and need a little bit of help deciding.
Let's talk about some potential landing spots for Tyjae Spears next. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. The Built March Madness bracket is here, and we know that you have a favorite bar or puff, and now is the time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. You know that I'm going to be voting for cookie dough. It's my absolute favorite. If you want to support your favorite sports team to win, you'll be voting for that bar too. Support your team, support your bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you will be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will get a 12-month subscription to Built to have the absolute best Built bars or puffs delivered monthly to your house. You got to try Built. It's absolutely fantastic. Best protein bar out there. Only 140 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, but 17 grams of protein, covered in 100% real chocolate. You're not even going to know that it's a protein bar. It's going to taste just like a candy bar. Honestly, it's amazing. Run to Built March Madness right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March. Today is the last day of March, so make sure you go and get those votes in. Again, builtmarchmadness.com. All right, Kate, let's talk about some potential landing spots. I saw today the NFL Draft Scout has him projected as a 3rd or 4th round pick. With that in mind, where would you like to see him land?
Now, I was tweeting out yesterday about one of my favorite dynasty buys right now, Tyler Algier. The Atlanta Falcons have a pick at 75 here. And boy, do I think he would be a really, really nice second complementary back for that offense. You've got Tyler Algier, who's got the typical build. He can be a bruiser. And I think, everything that maybe you worry that Tyler Algier is lacking, like experience as a receiver, I think Tyjae Spears can offer a lot of that. Spears is a willing pass blocker. He's a capable receiver. I think he fills just about, everything you could possibly say that Tyler Algier is missing in that offense. But Again, he doesn't necessarily, need to fulfill those, he doesn't need 260 carries to be super productive in an offense that is this good at running the ball. I would love to see that fit.
Do you know where Tulane is located, the college? I'm sure you do, right?
It's in Alabama, right?
No, it's New Orleans.
New Orleans. No, I had no idea. Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
There's a certain team down there in New Orleans that could be without their explosive running back for a while. Saints have a pick, 3rd round at number 71. Why not keep him in the state and get your Alvin Kamara replacement, considering we have no idea whether he's ever going to play again?
See, I think you're less confident in do you really think we could not see Alvin Kamara play again? That's my biggest takeaway here. Really?
Yeah.
Like ever again?
I mean, for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's in that 2017 draft class, which go look at the running backs in that class. Like, did you see some of the comments that we got about Joe Mixon yesterday? Whether the Bengals are going to bring him back. There's been rumors that Dalvin Cook might be cut or traded. Leonard Fournette is without a team right now. Like, these guys have a lot of touches on them, and they're not lasting long. So if Alvin Kamara were to happen to be suspended for 6 games or a season, he didn't play well last year at all. Like, I won't be shocked if we don't see him again.
That was probably my biggest surprise here. I mean, Alvin Kamara, he's a little bit bigger than Spears here, but like I can see a similar, explosive ability between these two guys. Do I think Alvin Kamara has a little bit more juice? Yes. But I mean, for team needs, probably, yeah, like that feels like it could be about right. I mean, you've got a lot of really exciting assets. TBD on what this offense is really going to look like with the addition of Derek Carr and changes in the run game. But I mean, they've got a lot of pieces between Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson. Like, they've got a lot of intrigue, right?
Yes.
And I do think Spears would be an interesting compliment. But do you think that, like, is Spears capable of being a team's RB1? And that's my biggest question.
Yeah, because I think we've seen this type of player before. Aaron Jones is not all that different in size. I think Aaron Jones was 5'8", 205 pounds coming out of school, and he's a workhorse. We've seen Austin Eckler, who is smaller, be a workhorse. So it doesn't scare me. We know that Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama is 199 pounds. And I think somebody's going to draft him late round 1, late round 2, thinking he's going to be an every down back. So yeah, it doesn't scare me.
I will say Gibbs, I think, has a bit more of the receiving element.
He's got more juice too.
He's got more juice. He's got, like, I mean, the 40 time doesn't lie. I think we had Spears running like a 4.53 40 at his pro day. Not terrible. I think that's
in the Aaron Jones free.
Yeah.
Range.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's not but those are the kind of things that you're looking at when you're comparing the juice of a guy like Spears versus Gibbs.
I got another landing spot I want you to comment on.
Okay.
Do you know, I'm asking the wrong person here. Can you tell us who the backup running back is for the Colts right now?
Is it Zach Moss?
It is Zach Moss. Of course it's Zach Moss, right? Jonathan Taylor going into the final year of his contract. I would assume that the Colts are going to sign him to a deal. However, we have seen that this Colts franchise doesn't like to overwork him a ton, and they clearly want somebody else to be the change of pace guy. And here are the rest of the running backs on the roster right now for the Colts. Your guy, Zach Moss, Deion Jackson, Jake Funk, and Aaron Shamklin. They could use somebody with a little bit more juice behind Jonathan Taylor, and they've got a pick in the 4th round, pick 106. Like, that's the perfect time to gamble on somebody like Tyjae Spears.
I would love this fit, and I would also really love it for Jonathan Taylor. Like, I don't think I think Spears is a guy that, like, I think you mentioned this at the top of the show, where he might be drafted as like a complimentary guy, but if he has, a stretch of games where he needs to be the lead back, like despite the weight, like he is, like, don't get me wrong, like he's a smaller guy, but those 200 pounds, like that's pure muscle.
Oh
Like
yeah. Yeah.
he's dense for 200 pounds. Like that is a dense frame, probably the densest frame you could get at 200 pounds. So like in terms of what the Colts need, and adding some explosion and all that, I really like that fit. And I think it fills a need without having to go
Yes.
up in the first round and draft a Jahmyr Gibbs.
One more. Same range, right? Because I personally, I think he's just somebody that's going to go off the board early on in round 4. And I'm looking at teams that either have multiple picks or a potential future need. And I think if he gets drafted by this team, he could be a league winner, like we mentioned at the top of the show. The Cleveland Browns have picks 111 and 126. There's been some rumblings that they've maybe explored a Nick Chubb trade. You look at his contract, it's very, very likely that Cleveland tries to get out of it after this year, despite how awesome he's been. And we know that Cleveland likes to use multiple running backs, right? Kareem Hunt is gone. Here are the rest of the running backs on the roster: Jerome Ford, John Kelly Jr., Nate McCray. Like, he could easily walk into that team, be the number 2 running back, get a bunch of touches, and be fantasy relevant right away.
Yeah, and we know this offense is going to be very friendly to a running back. Can I just say, like, man, I'm so shocked that they did not bring back a guy like Dearness Johnson, who was so freaking talented. But I think what we wanted out of Dearness Johnson could be exactly what we get out of a guy like Tyjae Spears.
I think they want more juice in the backfield, right? Because Ernest Johnson was a good player, but he ran, I think, a 4.75 40-yard dash. And Kareem Hunt was never really a speed guy, but he ran a 4.62 at his pro day, and it's clear that he was wearing down. So I can see it. I hope that's where he lands.
See, I'm still stuck on my Falcons.
I like it.
I'm like, I feel some type of way about the Atlanta Falcons offense and what they're building, but definitely I feel like there's no bad place for him to land.
That means that we just really like the player, right?
Yeah. In terms of, like, if I'm an NFL team, I don't really think there's any NFL team that shouldn't want him, even when it comes to like his experience in college. Like, he has experience with like zone schemes. He has experience with gap scheme. Like, he's got a wide breadth of experience that can translate to pretty much any NFL offense.
I agree.
The player is very talented. And I do think that this is one of the guys that, generally speaking, I feel like the draft community is a bit higher on than the Dynasty community. And I think Dynasty community is going to be very surprised when they see Spears and where he lands.
Well, let's talk about his Dynasty value next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and there is no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on anything and everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. Make sure you check out both the men's and women's college basketball tournament this weekend. They've been absolutely awesome so far. All on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, Kate, right now on Dynasty League Football, Tyjae Spears is being ranked as RB8. He's being drafted 20th overall in standard rookie drafts. Is that too high, too low?
It feels just about right for me. I think, obviously, I actually think he's probably a guy that feels less dependent on landing spot than some of the other players that we've talked about in terms of his value fluctuating. Like that just seems kind of like where he's probably going to be at. I think in terms of a value, my evaluation of him, he feels like, kind of one of those perennial RB2s, but somebody who, if he steps into a situation where the need is there for him to have 16 plus touches in a given game, like you're going to get an RB1 week out of him. Yep. So, I think that feels right about right.
Yeah. I mean, and if you can give me him at the bottom of the second round, like sign me up all day. Like that's the type of guy that I want to gamble on. Even, more so than the tight ends. I'm looking at it right now. You've got guys like Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Washington going at the bottom of the second round. I'll take Tyjae Spears over those guys all day just because I think he can contribute right away. And I think he does have the potential to be a league winner.
I mean, looking at, the most recent Dynasty startup ADP for the month of March, he is being drafted one spot behind wide receiver Kayshon Boutte, who
oh my gosh
is tumbling down draft boards faster than we can even
say Boutte.
Yep. Say Boutte. Like I wouldn't. He's I think going to take over that draft capital. This is for the entire month of March, so I'm sure we're going to see some fluctuations in April, and we're going to see Boutte start to drop.
By the way, did you see? Did you see Kayshon Boutte decide to stand on his combine numbers at his pro day?
Yes. What is that about? I need to talk about that, Marcus. We
some awful advice. You had some, super bad jumps, didn't run a fast 40, and you're like, what, I'm good.
It doesn't look good. I think from the standpoint that, like, if you think that's the best, like, there's no way that actually looks good for Boutte. Like, either you're admitting that these terrible numbers are the best I can do, which is bad.
Yep.
Or you're admitting that you don't care enough to give it a second shot. Also a bad look. So Kayshon Boutte, 100% going to be drafted here. I think, behind Spears in the next go around. But that just shows you where his evaluation was throughout this month. And I think that feels like a great value.
Can I give you a hot take now that I don't think it's going to be a hot take by the time we get to the draft?
Mm-hmm.
Spears is going to be drafted ahead of Boutte in the actual NFL draft.
Oh, I don't think that's a hot take at all.
I think we're firmly looking at Kayshon Boutte as a day 3 pick now. And we know the history of day 3 receivers and their dynasty values. Like, we're out, right? We're just going to be out. So,
Marcus, I don't even it would not, maybe this is the bolder take. I wouldn't be this is not the Kayshon Boutte show, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't want to say I would be surprised if he didn't get drafted.
I won't be shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked if he went undrafted, which is just so unfathomable and disappointing. But we saw it Justin Ross, who obviously he fell down draft boards for very different reasons. But we saw the talent there, right? With Justin Ross went undrafted. And I think everybody was shocked by that. But I could see a similar thing happen with Kayshon Boutte where we see the talent. And again, totally different reasons, but we already know he's falling down draft boards at a very rapid rate. Wouldn't be surprised.
Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Especially after we saw that happen with Justin Ross.
Yep, just last year.
Happened with him. Yep.
All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. Now make your second listen to Locked On NFL Scouting Show with the Draft Dudes. From free agency to the draft, salary cap management, and more. Join NFL experts Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino as they take you through what it's like to build a successful NFL franchise every Monday through Friday. Find Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes wherever you get your podcasts, in on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. please, we encourage you to go check out our show on YouTube. We post shows every single day over there. Go follow Kate on Twitter at Kate Magdziuk. I'm at Marcus _Mosher. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you guys next time.